John, let's talk about touching.
All right. Wow. Icky.
That's a touching you think. It's a great way to start any podcast. I'm just trying to hook the listeners in and viewers so they'll say, what is he going to say next?
If they logged in already, they're already hooked.
I am a provocateur. I make things very provocative. I just wanted to slide provocateur into the...
I know you did. I can't tell
lexicon.
You how many times we talk about that behind your back. Oh, have you talked with the provocateur lately? Oh, you mean Nick? Well, yeah. Who else would I be talking about?
Yeah. That's the only word I've never actually heard someone completely screw up is provocateur. You know, he's a provocateur. And I've never heard that.
Unlike restaurateur.
Well, yeah, yeah.
I'm not pointing at you necessarily.
Oh, but you are. I know you are.
People are.
I can feel it. I can feel the pointing. There you go.
People who are in the business still say it wrong.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I've got friends who own a restaurant, and granted, English is not his first language. So, anyway.
I'll cut him some slack then. But you should be instantly terminated if you are a restaurateur and cannot say restaurateur.
Yeah, he actually. So we got to visit my friends, or our friends. They're not my friends specifically. Last weekend. They're like family to us, and their daughter was in a play, so we went to see the play, and we were chatting about the restaurant and the troubles that they go through, it's very interesting. Some of the things, but one of the things that he was talking about is he actually spent their spring break in Chicago. So he lives here in Nashville, but they spent it in Chicago working for a Michelin star restaurant, just learning. He's like, I do that all the time. And I'm like, that's really interesting. I wonder how many chefs actually take time off to go work at another restaurant just to learn a little bit more.
I think, you know what? It's a great concept. It's a great concept. And I'm sure if they could afford to, a whole bunch would. Because for the ones that I see, and I think it's fair to say I've watched more Chopped episodes than anyone, perhaps besides my wife and the people on the show. I probably watch more than they have. And a lot of the chefs are really focused on, how can I get to the next level? And so many have traveled a lot when they've been able to. But it's sad that the other half of them, or 3/4 of them, work themselves crazy. They work themselves into divorces, and they work themselves into, bad marriages. And I guess that goes hand in hand. And just, family problems and so on, because they work 80 plus hours a week.
Yeah.
And it's detrimental.
It's interesting. I'd like to know what your thoughts are on that, because I am a workaholic. You can ask my wife. I definitely love to work, and I have made a conscious effort in the last 13 years that I've been married to not, granted, I still probably don't spend enough time with my family, but I purposely made a point where I stop working and spend time with my family. When I'm at home working from home, my job is fantastic. It's not a true 9 to 5 necessarily. But when I'm at home, I will stop at 5 so I can go cook dinner and spend time with my family. That's what I do. It doesn't mean that I don't get back on my computer when everyone's asleep. Shh. But, I have that luxury, which is nice, but I know for a fact that I would be much further in life, probably not much happier, but much further in life if I actually spent the time that I do working. Does that make sense? Like doing the 80-hour weeks and focusing on my career and building my career. I would be much further along if I didn't focus on that. So, there's definitely a trade-off there. What's more important to you? For me, it's my family. I've made that choice.
Sure.
And I live a very, very good life. And I get to spend time with you at least once a week on the podcast. What I probably wouldn't be able to do that if I was a true workaholic, or living up to my workaholic standards.
You are a half-assed workaholic.
That's a really good, I usually say, because people consider me an A type personality. I'm like, definitely not an A personality, A type, maybe an A minus,
No.
B plus, but not an A type A. Yeah.
Look, it's all about perspective. When you're younger, and this is the part that sucks. This is why you see 70-year-old dudes driving Corvettes, because they work their whole working time and it's all about work. And by the time they can afford the Vet or the Ferrari or the whatever it is, none of the hot girls want them anyway. So, right. And I see it all over in Florida, where you've got, you don't see any 25-year-old dudes driving a Porsche. You just don't. And right. The ones that do have wealthy parents or live in Vegas, but down here, they're
YouTube stars. Click the like and subscribe.
Or they're YouTube stars. That's true. And you can, smash the like button.
Smash the like button. Make sure you hit the little bell so you know whenever one of these podcasts are live.
That's right. And notification bell.
Notification bell. Thank you.
But it's a choice. It's a choice that you make. And there's the old saying that we've all heard: at the end of your life, when you're when it's all said and done, you're not going to say, I wish I would have spent more time at the office or more time working. And that's true. Okay, you're not going to.
I honestly think that depends on your perspective on what you do. If what you do makes your life better, makes other people's lives better, I don't think that's necessarily the case. I'm going to use my stepdad as the example. He loved what he did to the point where he didn't have to retire at 72. Well, he did because he had Alzheimer's. He probably would have worked longer if he didn't realize he was losing his mind slowly. But he retired at 72 because he loved it so much. Now, he had family, lost family, blah, 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 because he was career oriented. But he would be one person that would say, I wish I could have spent more time at the office, because he loved his work so much. And I know people like that.
And that's good. But the problem is, though, Nick, it's we only have so much time. And when you split it 80-20 work to family, the family is not going to grow in the way that it might. And so I think it's and this is us getting all philosophical, but I think it's got to be a conscious choice. I did the 80-hour plus weeks working in the dealership, and sure, when I was there, I'm in my zone, and this is what you do. And I know a lot of people that do the same thing, and especially self-employed people. I've got to go all into this, and there's a lot to be said for working to earn later, but life throws you curveballs sometimes, and you just never know. Something changes, or I don't know. Let's say cancer, and you get a thing, multiple myeloma. And what's really important, it's not the time at work. It's and so it changes your perspective, or it allows you the opportunity to change your perspective. I'm with you. Work is really rewarding if you enjoy what you do. If you don't enjoy what you do, it's a whole different conversation.
Right. And that's kind of where I was going with that whole point, because for some people, family isn't as important. I don't know many of those people. It's not, family is more important to me, but for some people,
I hate my family.
Right. For some people, work is more important than having a family.
That's a good point.
It doesn't mean that they don't have a family. Look at Elon Musk. He is literally, quite literally, changing the world. And I have to believe he loves doing it. It's not about the money. I mean, look at how frivolous he is with his money. It's calculated, but it's frivolous. Let's go buy Twitter for $42 million, $1 billion.
Amazing. 43 billion.
43. Sorry. 1 billion. What does 1 billion mean? I mean, nothing in today's day and age.
It means you wouldn't have to work 80 hours a week.
But that's a good point. He doesn't work 80 hours a week. He works twice that. I mean,
I'm sure he does, and what's different is, what does the work entail? If your work and you don't enjoy it and it entails being somewhere else, that's again, a different conversation. Where you're Elon Musk, who probably works 20 hours a day, but he's working every time he's awake. He's
Right.
consciously, and probably when he's sleeping too, consciously thinking of how could we, and he has people that frankly uh, give him support in that too. I mean,
Right.
don't think that this is my final offer for Twitter. Don't think that he doesn't have a plan B, because he said that at a TED conference
Oh, yeah, he's
that
probably got a plan
he
B and
has
a
a
plan
plan B.
C. Yeah.
I'm guessing maybe even a D. You're absolutely
Yep.
right.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know
So,
how we
cool.
got to this point when I was talking about touching.
That's what I love about this podcast.
Me too.
You never know where we're
I
going.
hope
Because we
everybody
started
loves
by
this.
saying, well, we
Let's
love
talk
it,
about
but
touching.
yeah, we were going to start talking about
Yeah, we
touching.
were. So,
Aren't
folks,
you glad we went this route, listeners
aren't
and
you
viewers?
glad?
Aren't you happy? We haven't
Aren't you
talked about
happy?
touching
Aren't you
yet.
glad? No, what we were
All
really,
right.
what we started out was talking about. I don't know how we went from geography, which is what it was, to work, because I wanted to talk about a useless piece of knowledge that I learned last night. We were watching YouTube, of course. You know, you learn everything on YouTube.
Yeah.
So, what are the two states in the United States that they touch each other, but they also touch more states than any other state in the union?
Well, it would have to be, I would think, center of the country, right?
Center-ish, yeah. One of them is definitely center.
Okay. I would say, you think, I just think like, you think of Texarkana, and
Yeah.
and I am looking at the map, but I'm not looking hard because I think I know the answer already.
Well,
Because
give me
you
the
mentioned
answer.
something
What two states that touch each other have more states touching them than any other state in the union, or states in the union?
Well, you said Tennessee and Missouri.
Did I say that on the podcast or before the podcast?
Before the podcast.
See, but the listeners didn't know.
Well, you told me to cheat. You told me to say it. Well, go ahead and say it.
Go ahead and say it. Yeah.
So Tennessee and Missouri,
and
yes.
Tennessee.
So let's look. Let's count. Because Tennessee, I'm just looking at, and it's pretty evident. You've got Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, West Virginia. I can't tell.
Yeah,
Virginia. Not West Virginia. Kentucky. Kentucky, Illinois.
Illinois doesn't come down all the way.
Doesn't it?
Illinois, nope. It
does too.
Nope. Kentucky is in the way. Oh, no, you're right.
Mississippi River.
No.
Mississippi River, baby.
We're going to have to get someone on the let's go to the phones, folks.
No, you're right.
Someone's going to have to tell us, because I don't think Illinois touches.
Nope, it doesn't. You're right. It's sure close, though, isn't it?
It is very close. It's very close. I mean,
that's actually Missouri around the Mississippi there.
Yep.
Yeah.
I do think there is a weird.
Does not have a great.
No, it really doesn't. So Missouri has Kansas, Nebraska, Iowa, Illinois, Kentucky, Tennessee, Arkansas, Oklahoma, and that's it.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
I really didn't realize that. Well, and if you think about it, you go to like Nebraska, you would think would have a lot, and it does, but it doesn't, because the states are bigger. There aren't as many that touch it.
Is there a point? Here's another useless point. And I honestly, when this question was posed, I didn't think about it well enough, because I thought of Tennessee when I heard the question. What state, and this is the part that I missed, what state where can you stand in the United States where you are standing in 4 different places at once, 4 different states at once?
Well, isn't that the Texarkana or whatever it is?
It's close. So it's the
4 corners.
The 4 corners, right? Yes. When I heard that, though, I thought they were talking about you can see different states, because if you're standing in, what is it? Rock, not Rock Island, Rock City in Chattanooga, you can actually see 5 different states.
Oh,
but
wow.
This is actually standing in a spot, which is the Four Corners, which is Utah, Colorado, New Mexico, and Arizona. You can actually stand in the 4 corners of those states and be in all 4 states at once.
Yeah, it's called the Four Corners Monument. There's actually a monument there.
Yep.
Only 4 stars on Google, though, so, you know.
Oh, well, probably not something we want to go see then. We'll bring the PoddiPod. We haven't talked about the PoddiPod in a long time.
Well, that's because we haven't talked with Bill recently,
I know.
which we need to do, because
we really
he
did.
was
trying to find us a PoddiPod. Now I have
something.
Now we both have something. We both have something we can pull
that can tow it. With. Exactly. Yeah. I was just thinking the same thing.
So speaking of, I'm taking my Jeep in now. It'll be the 3rd time I've gone in to the shop.
Oh,
it only has 1,600 miles on it. Which this I will say, I appreciate the honesty of the Master Tech that I rode with. Excuse me, because he said, listen, when Jeep produced the first 4xe, they didn't really come out and train us about different things. It's the first time this vehicle's been out there, and yes, it's very similar in many, many, many ways to a regular Wrangler, but there are systems in there that we just don't know. So, because what happened, I've got this vibration, this weird, like, he made it sound like, it's like you're hitting the rumble strips on the side of the road that go womp, 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 womp. That's what it feels like at about 62, 63 miles per hour.
Awesome sound effects, by the way.
Thank you. So he originally, the dealership thought, okay, it needs to be balanced. So they tried to balance it, didn't work. So I took it back. He rode with me and he's like, I've never felt that before. It's definitely not tires. I don't know what it is. I don't want to mess with it. So I'm going to call Jeep and have my fixed ops person come out. So now the fixed ops person, I guess, gotten hold of an engineer. So now there's an engineer coming to see the
Jeep.
So I have to drop it off on Tuesday to find out what's going on, which I thought, again, I really appreciate the honesty, but the fact that it only has 1,600 miles on it, and this will be technically the 4th time I've brought it in, is a little ridiculous. It kind of sucks.
I would agree with you. However, this is where this is you being oh gosh, what's the there's a term for it and I can't think of it.
Asshole?
An innovator, essentially.
Oh.
Well, I know that one well. No, you're like an innovator, though. You want to be foremost in a lot of these cool things. We talked about you're wanting it's a hybrid, essentially, right?
Yep. Plug-in hybrid.
You're wanting the 4xe, yeah. And because that's you. You're innovative thinking wise, and so even though it's kind of a hassle, you're still the first, essentially, that's had this issue that this dealer has seen, and I still think it's kind of cool, or a little bit cool, at least. Maybe it's inconvenient, but it's cool that you're getting that attention so they can actually get somebody, an engineer, who designed it, presumptuously, anyway, I'm saying that, presumptively, that this is a person who's going to be able to tell you what it is and maybe give you some other insight too. Who knows?
Right. Fingers crossed. I doubt it's going to be that.
You're an innovator.
Straightforward. Yeah, sure.
You're the Lewis and Clark of 4xEs.
Yeah, let's not go that far. Anyway, so that's where I am on that one. But
cool.
Anyway, so we're actually recording this on a Saturday, which we don't actually we don't do very often. We don't do mornings. We don't, because usually it's just a night, a happy hour type thing.
Because you're a workaholic.
Because I'm a workaholic. Because I put whiskey in my coffee. I guess I could make it a happy hour.
Whiskey business.
I've never done that before. Whiskey business. That's really good. There's
that would be the name of our PoddiPod.
Yeah.
Whiskey business. I like it. All right. We're on to something.
Yep. Let's just keep noodling. I see $1 million
Yeah.
lawsuit in our future.
Well, we're gonna
You thought
get
I was
pulled
gonna say
over
$1
in every
million
town we're in.
business, right?
Why'd you pull us over? Yeah.
Anyway,
Gosh.
I have completely lost my train of thought now.
Perfect. You're
Oh,
welcome.
it's a
Welcome to
weekend, but it's
PoddiMouths.
also it's Easter weekend. It's Easter weekend. So you got
It
any
is.
big plans for Easter?
I mean, big plans. We do. We have learned over the years not to ever go out for Easter brunch. Ever.
Ever?
Because
Why?
you
Because they
know
don't
me, I do
serve.
not like waiting to be seated at a
Mm,
restaurant. If you don't like waiting to be seated at a restaurant, never go out on Easter. And even Palm Sunday is much the same. So Lisa has been kind enough to uh, uh, agree with me on that. So
nice.
she's often will have eggs Benedict, which she does beautifully. She inherited from her mother, and the ability to, I mean, poaching eggs and hollandaise, and I mean, it's really a sight to behold.
Hollandaise for the
So
holidays?
that's enjoyable. Yeah. Huh?
Hollandaise for the holidays?
Yes, home for the hollandaise. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what it is. So we will, to answer your question, we're going to see our son and his family tonight, actually, which is Saturday, and so we're going to go out to dinner with them. Hopefully, we won't have the same issue getting food. And then tomorrow, we're just going to go to sunrise worship at our church, and 7 a.m. outdoors,
Nice.
weather permitting, and we'll do that and probably just enjoy the day back at the house.
See, whenever
How
I
about
hear
you?
it, nothing. We're doing absolutely nothing. But anytime I hear brunch, Sunday brunch specifically, I don't think of Easter. I don't think of standing in lines. All I think of that eggs Benedict is probably my number one favorite breakfast. It's also anytime I start a vacation, that's the very first breakfast I have on vacation. It's kind of my own little internal tradition. But that said, anytime I hear brunch, I think of eggs Benedict and Bloody Marys.
Ah, bing.
So when waiting in line for a Bloody Mary, as long as I had one in my hand while I was waiting, I'd be fine. Fine.
That's a good point. We're more. I love Bloody Marys, but I can only do one. And we used to go to a place in Wisconsin it's a bar, and they made these crazy Bloody Marys, and it's almost like people trying to outdo one another.
You've
But
got a
it
full
had the great
chicken.
big. Exactly, I've seen that. Well, this one didn't have that, but they had, I mean, everything but the big old honking glass with, the Bloody Mary, of course, but then celery and sausage sticks, and one place had a cheeseburger, and so and it's ridiculous. But even when they are not loaded up like that, I'm good for about one, and then I
Okay.
can't do anymore.
Really? I can do
We
one
are more.
in each
Yeah,
hand.
do it now.
Yep.
Nice. I learned how to make
I
them
do have.
with horseradish, and they're
Mhm.
amazing with horseradish.
Mhm. It's
And
the
that
only
was
reason I
years
buy
ago that
horseradish.
I know. Well, yeah, that's about it. We don't do a lot of prime rib or anything that,
Yeah.
is where horseradish is great, but we're more mimosa focused
Yeah, see, that's my wife too.
than Bloody Marys. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So,
that's delicious. They're great.
oh, yeah, they're good too. I can't go. But whenever I get champagne, I just want to. It's either going to be straight champagne because juice. We've talked about my stomach, right? The fact that certain sweet things give me a bad stomach ache. That's what happens with mimosas and Bellinis. So
Yeah.
if I'm going to do any type of champagne, it's just going to be straight champagne, or it's going to be a death in the afternoon, which we've talked about on this podcast as well.
We
Look it up, folks.
we
It's
don't want that.
fantastic.
Yes.
No, great book, and it's also a great drink. Mr. Hemingway, you're amazing.
Oh, that's hilarious. Yes, I
Yeah.
remember that well.
But
Unlike
so how do you like your
what
Bloody Marys?
anybody who has
For
a
the
death in the afternoon.
right. How do you like your Bloody Marys anyways, for the one that you have? Do you like them
Yeah,
spicy? Do you like them thick, thin?
and
Do you like them with
so
Clamato
opposite of
juice?
you, I love Clamato, and that's a great reminder. they are delicious when you use the Clamato rather than tomato juice or Mr. and Mrs. T or whatever. Not a sponsor ding.
I like Zing
but
Zang. Zing Zang is my favorite.
Oh, okay. And so is that spicier? I would take it from the name.
You can get spicier, but it's a little thicker than Mr. T's, and it's got a little bit more flavor. So a lot of the mixed
Mr. T's or Mr. and Mrs. T's.
That one.
Mr. T has a whole different one.
That's right. I've always called it Mr. T's. I don't know why.
A fool who's going to drink this without the hot.
Zing Zang has most of the ingredients that I would put in if I were making it with getting Clamato or tomato juice and then making myself. It's already got most of it in there, so I don't have to worry about futzing with it. I do add more horseradish.
I like celery salt, horseradish. What else? Worcestershire, of course.
See, with Zing Zang, I don't have to add that because it's already in there.
Okay,
but I do. So I normally would. Yep.
Yeah, for tomato juice or Clamato, I would add it in.
And soy sauce.
And I don't do soy sauce, but that's okay. It's a salty element, so it's not a bad thing. And if you've got them, I do like the sausage sticks. That's kind of cool, and or cheese and sausage sticks. If somebody does that, I don't. None of that. And a dill pickle, probably a slice of dill pickle, but that's about it for me.
So here's mine, and I'm gonna put the Zing Zang aside. I'm just gonna do how I would make it if I was making it from scratch.
Yep.
So, you have to have good vodka. You can't just do well vodka. It's got to be good vodka. Okay. Period. So you put the vodka in, you put the ice in, then you put your horseradish on top, you put your celery salt on top. And I actually add a little bit of garlic salt. I have tried the garlic cloves that are already minced, but it doesn't add as much flavor as I would like it to. So I use the celery, a little bit of onion powder rather.
Mm-hmm.
Then I pour in the tomato juice. Then I do the Worcestershire.
Mm-hmm.
Then I do a little bit of soy sauce, a little bit of olive juice.
Okay.
Mix that all up. And then I garnish it with a blue cheese stuffed olive, a dill pickle,
delightful,
bacon, and then I put bacon bits and pepper on the top.
Wow, bacon and bacon bits.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. That's my perfect Bloody Mary right there.
That's really good. That's really good one.
I don't do the celery because I don't like celery.
Oh, well, see, this is you, and it's different. I guess if I'm making it for myself versus making it if I'm tending bar or something, the one that you repeat is the one that, I used to make 10 of them or whatever, you're going to do them exactly the same way. Yeah. So yeah, it's interesting. Some of it. Oh, by the way, just as an aside, which we do all the time on PoddiMouths, ladies and gentlemen.
Sorry, before you go to your aside, I forgot my one key ingredient, which I also add to the Zing Zang.
Go.
You can't have it any other way. It can't be any other hot sauce. It has to be. Shit.
What? Show it again.
No, I can't
thought you were holding up a hot sauce.
No. It's
Cholula.
Oh, crap. No, Cholula is my favorite, but I don't put it in my Bloody Marys.
Okay.
It's literally just the pepper and the vinegar. It's very, very famous. It's the most famous hot sauce out there. Tabasco. Thank you. I knew it started with a T.
Sure.
I only put Tabasco in there.
Interesting.
Yep. Okay, go on. I'm sorry.
No,
I forgot one more ingredient that I if I have it, I do.
Yes.
Tony Chachere's. I'll throw in a little Tony Chachere's. Tony Chachere's Creole seasoning. Look it up. My favorite Creole seasoning in the world. Okay, go on with your side.
Wait, there's one more.
Wait. After you.
I was going to say, as an aside, before you drew me back into the Bloody Mary, which was delicious, a deep pan with a lid, or a pot, I guess you might call it, with a lid. My new favorite way to make bacon on the stove.
Really?
And I'll take the entire package of bacon and slice, cut it up in chunks, and then put it in the bottom of the pan. We have a stainless steel pan, lid on, stir it occasionally, and I do the whole thing of bacon at once and throw it in a Ziploc and put it in the
Mhm.
fridge, whatever I don't use the first time.
Right.
It's awesome because you
Yeah.
always have bacon in the
Excuse me.
fridge and it doesn't splatter because you have the
Mhm.
lid on. When you stir it, yeah, I mean, it's going to spit a little bit because it's in a deep pan. It does not, it doesn't spit
That's
at you. So
that's how Mona
it's a
does it too.
hot tip.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's brilliant. Love Mona.
Mona's
But
my
the
mother-in-law.
other part about it is yes, she is. The other part of it is, you know how you get the scrapings a little bit at the bottom when you're done? Deglaze it when you're done. If you wanna make eggs at the time, deglaze it
Mm.
with frozen, chopped up, onions, which I have in the
Nice.
freezer. And it's beautiful. It deglazes it perfectly. I mean, if you have to throw in some wine, you have to,
You
but
just
that will
have to.
deglaze the
Yeah.
stainless. And then you can put the eggs in and make the eggs right in the same pan. It's freaking awesome. And I
That
do
sounds
usually
really, really
drain a
good.
little bit of the bacon grease, but yeah, pretty darn
Why?
good.
I have been getting I've
Because it's a half a cup of bacon
so
grease.
I've been
Yeah.
actually I've been cooking my bacon in the oven and no
Oh,
splatters,
okay.
no nothing. It actually comes out really, really well.
Well,
I don't
inside
know
the
why I
oven is a
started doing
mess,
that,
though.
but it is a little messy when you're cleaning up the pan, but it's much better than cleaning the stove. That's I can deal with
I
a pan
well,
versus a
so
stove.
in this rental place we're in, the stove is it's the electric, but it's the glass surface, so it
That's what I
cleans
have.
up.
I hate it.
I I'm not a huge
Hate with a
fan.
passion.
Well, we've had gas before and we love gas. However, it's not available here or in our new place because
Yeah.
it's all electric. So we're
Yeah.
going with induction at the new house.
Oh,
And
nice. That'll
yeah,
be
I'm
interesting.
excited about that because it is from a cleanup standpoint, it's really easy. And
Yeah.
induction is going to be even better than this thing is.
Yeah, I can see induction being much better because the problem I have with the glass is it still gets hot. So if you spill
Yeah.
food onto it, then it chars, and then you have to get a razor blade to scrape it off, and it's just a pain in the ass. But induction, you're not going to
There
have that
are other
because the surface isn't hot.
yep. Go to that's correct. Go to there are some YouTube videos that and I want to say it's like vinegar and baking soda will
It's
clean it pretty
yeah,
well,
so
something like that.
it's baking soda, dish soap. You make a paste, you put it all over, and then you add vinegar on top of that. You let it sit for about 20 minutes and then you wipe it all down. But you also can go with the razor blade and scrape everything up at that point. That's how we clean it.
Yeah.
It's just a pain in the
It's
ass.
just a lot. It's a lot of
Yeah.
work. We've got a dish rag or square, I guess, with like the scrapey stuff on one side
Hmm.
and it's soft on the other. So I'll just generally I'll just and I'm kind of the kitchen cleanup guy. I will even when it's still warm, I'll use the scrapey side with a pretty wet
Yeah,
cloth, and it takes most of it up. And again,
it
it's a
does,
rental,
but it's
so
still
I don't care.
exactly as time goes on. I mean, I have to do that full deep clean probably once every 2 months, maybe once a quarter.
Yeah, yeah,
So, I mean, it's again,
and
it's
that's
just a
not
pain in
bad.
the ass. I prefer gas because I can control the heat a little bit better. And that's
That's true.
important when you're
And
cooking because this
yeah,
thing stays
and I'm
hot
looking
forever.
forward. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that with the induction,
Mhm.
because it's much the same from what I'm understanding, uh,
The
and
only thing
you
I
just
don't
have
like
yeah,
go ahead.
go
I
ahead.
was gonna say the only thing I don't like about induction is I'd have to go out and buy a whole new set of pots and pans.
Yeah, we're actually sort of due, so it's not a bad thing.
There you go.
We have some non-stick right now, and they're okay, but they have a shelf life that
Yeah.
at some point it's kind of planned obsolescence with those. The uh, most of and here's the test if you're thinking induction, if your cookware is attracted by a magnet, it will work with induction. If it
Hmm,
won't, it will not work. So
interesting.
you have to there are a lot of people with stainless steel blends, and it's some
Yeah.
aluminum and so on, and it won't work with
Oh,
induction.
so
So
our pots
it's
and
not
pans
all
would
bad.
actually work because ours
As
are,
long as
the
as long as
Calphalon.
that's the ultimate test. As long as it will work with a magnet, it will work on an induction stove.
Interesting.
Yep.
That's really interesting.
I thought that was kind of cool. So
it
anyway,
is. I
we
didn't know
don't
that. I
have it
thought you
yet.
had to buy specific induction
No,
pots and pans.
no, it's
Okay.
just the beauty of it is that it's it's all about magnetic attraction, and that's
Uh-huh.
what causes the heat to occur only in the pan where it's
Interesting.
working
So
the
you have now
magnets,
convinced
and
me.
so
I will double check our pots and pans. You might have convinced me because I hate our stove and oven. It doesn't cook evenly. It's a pain in the ass. It's cheap. So
yeah.
I think that might be my next purchase after a dishwasher. So did I tell you?
Dishwasher
I told
first.
you. I know I told you because I sent you pictures because we were going to do a podcast
Yeah.
last weekend. What
Mhm.
happened to my Jennifer makes fun of me because I call it a garburator, but it's the garbage disposal. It was something my mom called it, so
Yes.
I just continually called it a garburator. But it's so the brand is actually Incinerator, but it's a garbage
Yeah.
disposal. So my mom blended the words and called it a garburator. Anywho,
Funny. Like it.
um,
Like it.
I was doing the dishes after making breakfast on I think it was Friday morning. It was right after I'd gotten home from traveling, and all of a sudden the garbage disposal falls. Like you hear this big boom, and there's water going down into under the cabinet. I'm like, oh shit. So I shut off the water and I go under there and I'm like, okay, what happened? And it's the whole thing rusted. So there must have been a leak for a long time that we didn't know about.
Oh.
And the piece, it
Mhm.
just literally snapped and just fell. But
Well,
that
'cause they're
wasn't the
heavy.
they're heavy, but that wasn't the worst part. So I'm cleaning out the cabinet under the sink to go ahead and fix it and get a new garbage disposal and put it up there. And there's a massive dip in the cabinet under the cabinet. And it's all water damage that we didn't see because there was so much stuff on top of it. And so I ended up having to pull all of that out. Now these are pre-made cabinets, so the floor in the cabinet isn't something you can easily replace. It's not designed to be replaced. It's designed that
Mhm.
your obsolescence, as you were talking about, is designed to have to be
Yeah.
completely removed and put a new one put back in. I didn't do that. So I tore out the floor of the cabinet, dried everything out. I custom made my own floor for the cabinet, put that back in, and then
Wow.
redid all the plumbing for the under sink.
When you
Go
say
ahead.
you tore it out, how did you do what did you cut it?
And yeah, I started cutting it until I could get enough where I could pull the rest out because you have to pull out the nails and but there was still
Sure.
a nice little gap in there that I could build a shelf on top of. So
Wow.
yeah, that was my fun weekend last weekend. And that's why we didn't get to podcast because that's what I was dealing with. But that was really interesting as I was going through all of that, and I had to. All the plumbing was done backwards, which we would always wondered why we were getting water to back up into the sink. So I had to redo all the plumbing, then put the garbage disposal in, then connect the
Wow.
dishwasher. And I mean, it all looks good. It all works very, very well. Except now there's a problem with the plumbing because I guess when I shut the water off, there was enough back pressure to create a vacuum inside of so now whenever you run the water, it pulses. It goes boom, 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 boom. So I've got to get something to actually pull that air pocket out. I don't remember. I think it's called a plumbing arrestor or something like that. I don't know. I don't
Wow.
know. Yeah.
You can't just open up multiple faucets
Nope.
and
I tried that. Yeah. And I looked up
weird.
Google's my friend.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Do you have a
that's the
whole
next
house?
project.
Do you have a whole house filter or no?
No. Mm-mm.
Oh,
Nope.
okay. The whole house filter, I believe, would help with that, and it's just an add-in in your piping from the main source, and
Yeah. That's the
I'm not sure it would. Yeah,
So I don't know how this place was built, but the main source is in the crawl space. And then there's
got it.
the only cutoff, because I remember I was redoing the shower and I probably spent 5 or 6 hours trying to find where the
Ugh,
in-house shut-off valve was. So you could just shut it off. No,
wow.
I had to go out to the street and shut it off at the street because there's
What?
no valve in the house. There's maybe half of the
What?
houses because I asked my neighbors, half of the houses in the neighborhood have shut-off valves. The other half doesn't. It's all one builder, and they decided to go on the cheap and not put them in the house.
Wow.
Yeah, so I would if
Wow.
I were to put an in-house filter in, I'd have to go into the crawl space on the opposite. So the door's on one side of the house, and the water main, if you call it that, is on the other side. So I'd have to crawl across to put the filter system in. It's not like it's in the garage or anything where I can just tap it up. So yeah, I've thought about it,
Jeez.
but yeah. Hey,
Wow.
Indy.
We'll leave that up to the next owner. There's a
Yeah,
puppy.
exactly. So anyway, that was my adventure for the
Wow.
weekend, and
Jeez
everything
Louise.
is working though. I've got a working carburetor.
Well, that's good, and I
Yeah.
like that name. I get the whole incinerator because that we had that before. Oh, and speaking of that, I don't know if can you see this?
Oh, is that the
Not
new?
sure if you can.
Wow, that's
It's
looking
the
really
new build,
good.
baby.
They
Well,
they're missing
and that's the
something though.
problem. What's that?
It's missing something.
Yeah, roof.
Yeah.
Yeah, and garage doors, and yeah.
Right. Well, you don't
The
need garage
problem
doors
is
in
with it
Florida.
watching it take shape now, I
Uh-huh.
can already, we get over there and we're like, okay, all right, we're getting close, and we're not even close. It's still gonna be many months, and
Yeah.
we have trusses coming in. That is the beauty of these houses when they build them here, and they're all essentially done the same way with the cinder block and
Mm-hmm.
trusses. So any walls they build are never going to be supporting walls. So that's awesome.
That is awesome.
If you ever, for future owners, if they're ever going to redo something, it's all trusses, so you don't ever have to worry about is that a load
Load-bearing wall.
supporting wall or right.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's the good part, but we're still going to be waiting, and all of those prices, by the way, have gone up
Oh, I'm
dramatically.
sure.
Trusses almost doubled in price for the
Yeah.
trusses,
Well,
and
everything is almost doubled in price. I went to the
yeah.
grocery store, and
Have you
I
been to
think
the
we've shared
grocery
this
store?
before.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and it's not just COVID, it's not just the war, it's not just gas, it's also
Yeah.
bird flu. Do you hear about bird flu now? So the eggs
Oh my
are.
god.
It's like,
Be
when
some
can
reason,
we're not
yeah.
good. Yeah, this is ridiculous. But we have a very standard shopping list. I would say we don't deviate much from what we normally buy week after week. And last
Yeah.
time we went to the store, we actually didn't even buy our full list, and we were still $100 more than usual.
Wow.
Yeah, I was
Wow,
like,
that's a
this is
lot.
absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Granted,
Yeah.
I did buy some chicken. I don't usually buy chicken.
Over the top, man.
Over the top. Yeah, and
Well, and it's
that
interesting
honestly,
too
that's even sans
because
alcohol. There was no alcohol purchased.
yeah, I know ours has been the same way lately where no, we're not getting wine or we're not, and
Yep.
it's crazy. But what's made us better shoppers is we kind of know pricing now.
Mhm.
For example, there was a whole chicken, raw chicken, and I'm thinking, oh, we could smoke this, it'll be great. $8 or something like that for the whole chicken. And I went over to the meat counter and they have the broasted chicken for $6.
Yeah.
Whole chicken. I'm like, wait a second.
Yeah.
So not
That's
only is
not how
it
this
two
is
bucks
supposed to
less,
work.
I don't have to jump through the hoops to make it.
Yeah.
So, and we
Except,
use the whole
making
thing.
it
I
is
mean, we'll
kind of fun
serve it.
too, though.
Well, it is, but not $2 plus the time fun.
Right.
I'm sorry, I can do other things, but
Yeah.
yeah, but we'll use the whole thing in that, one meal, maybe two. And Lisa likes to do salads with the roasted chicken, which is great.
Mhm.
And then I just pick the bones and we'll do a soup or something like that. That's amazing, or pasta, or so you kind of get a little creative. And we're getting better at not throwing stuff out, which is a big problem if you're,
S
especially
speaking
as empty nesters, and you've got
Yeah,
others in the house. But as
right.
empty nesters, it's tougher to cook for a couple of people or
Well,
one
especially
person, like my
yeah,
mother
especially
does.
when I would say Jen and I will eat pretty much the same things. And
Yeah,
I mean, we like pretty much everything, and there's nothing we get really picky about. But
yeah, we rotate meals.
Yeah, Whitney will not eat certain things. Well, and she doesn't cook. She doesn't know how to cook. The kitchen scares her. So she's got a very particular thing, and it's not stuff that Jen and I would eat because it's just not. And then Peyton won't eat what we eat and won't eat what Whitney eats. So we're making, granted, we don't really, Whitney does her own thing, so she's fine. But we always have to make 2 meals because
Sure.
if we don't, Peyton's not going to eat what we're going to eat, and we're not going to eat what she's going to eat.
Yep.
Unless it's mac and cheese, and then we'll add healthy stuff to the mac and cheese and pretend. But yeah, so it does make it a little bit more difficult, but it's not. Again, we've had our budget, and we've worked on that in a certain direction. But the other thing was Costco. We do maybe once a quarter we'll do a big Costco order. We don't go monthly, right? So
Yeah.
let's say our Costco order is usually about $400, and if we go get it, maybe it's $450. But if we get it delivered, with tax and title wow, slip into the car business. Tax and delivery fees, it comes in about $500, right? So the other thing we do is we again have a very standard list. So I can go into the app and literally go order my last order, and everything will come. The last time I did that, I pulled it up. It was almost $700.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, hell no.
Wow.
Hell no. Yeah. It was crazy. It was absolutely crazy.
That's a really good exercise of ordering the same exact thing and looking at just the sheer jump with what inflation is doing. Oh, man.
Yeah, that one got me, because you could argue the grocery thing and go, well, maybe you didn't get exact the same thing, or some things were on sale and something.
Yes.
No, this is literally going order.
Wow. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. So needless to say, we don't have our Costco order.
Well, and so we're not near, since we moved down here, Costco's an hour away now. Unlike when we were in Wisconsin, it was, half an hour, maybe something like that. So you could justify going once a month or something like that when we did. Other than stock up items, though, it turns into, we needed this or we needed that.
Yeah.
Did you?
That's why we
really
don't go.
Get those?
Right. That's why we usually order.
That's
and just we'll eat the tip and the service fee, just because we know it's still going to be cheaper than if we go.
Exactly. And that is, you get there and you go, oh, I need this, or, oh, good, I can get some socks, or really?
Yep.
So, I'm with you. It's not that I love Costco.
Me too.
But we need to pay closer attention to what's at home. Now, on the flip side of that, and I know we're going to start wrapping up here. The flip side of that is our meat market here. Mm-hmm. We're meat market fans. We found a German butcher here that they're just amazing.
I bet.
So I'm German, and you have some Germany too.
And
so we found at first I went in the first time and I'm looking for fillets, because that's what we would do in Wisconsin at the butcher shop. And I couldn't see any. I'm like, oh, come on. So we tried a couple other steaks and they were fine, but we're fillet snobs. We just love fillets, and Lisa makes them better than 98% of the restaurants I've been to. And I mean, high-end restaurants. Morton's, don't stand a chance against my wife. They are truly amazing. She has it down to a science. Now, but I did find they have whole tenderloins.
Nice.
And whole Shazam. They're beautiful and they're expensive, but when you slice them up into steaks and freeze them, it comes out way less than what they are at the store, and way better quality. So we are just so happy with this place. Admittedly, it's most of our grocery bill if we go and get a big tenderloin, but it's worth the extra visit, the extra trip, because we dole it out appropriately. So anyway, it's been
that's
those places are awesome, because it's such great quality.
Yeah, I think that's something we do miss with having these giant stores where everything's in it, is just, and I don't like people. I hate people. Let's just bluntly say it that way. I hate people. I can't live like my dad does out in the middle of nowhere because I still have to have people around me, but I hate people.
But we've talked though, Nick, about, and I don't hate people. I don't like surrounding myself with elderly folks who don't know how to drive. They are everywhere here. So
I was just going to say, you're in the wrong state, John.
Oh my gosh. And I thought drivers in Arizona were bad, because the people come down there and they're snowbirds. And I thought drivers in Texas were bad. These people are the worst ever. And it actually, at least I had the conversation, maybe we need to sell the Harley because it's dangerous to be out with a motorcycle here. It's like they don't even see it. Wow. And it's a big bike. It's the size of a smart car, essentially. So anyway, it's just a circus. That said, I go at the easy times at the grocery store. We talked about, 8 or 9 in the morning. It's awesome. Nobody there. And I get through the store with a full shopping list in 20 minutes. It's unheard of. And so, I avoid the crowds there.
So speaking of, I think it was just a fluke, but something similar. I went with Jennifer, actually. I don't remember what day it was, but it was early in the morning. No cars in the parking lot. I was so excited. And then I walk into the store and the place was packed. I'm like, what the hell? It was like it was very, very busy, like people everywhere. And I'm like, where did you all come from? Your cars aren't out there.
Somebody dropped off a bus load.
Exactly. Where was the bus? I didn't see the bus. I sound like an old Jewish guy. Where's the bus? I didn't even see the bus. There was actually a little bit of Seinfeld in there. It's good.
Yes.
That's my best
Where's
impression.
The bus? Yeah, you had some George going on there a little bit.
Yeah, the George. That was it. Yeah. Anyway, so speaking of smart cars, I have so many more stories, but we're going to have to save it to the next episode, folks, about it wasn't a smart car, but it was the size of a smart car with a back seat. The last rental I had, it was a pretty good story. So hopefully you'll stay tuned, come back next week to hear that story. I'll probably forget to tell it anyways, but hey, let's toss the dice and see what happens. Maybe not. Head up to PoddiMouths.com and check out all of the previous episodes along with this episode. Or if you're watching us on YouTube, smash that like button and don't forget to hit subscribe. Smash it hard. And then, the notification bell. Don't forget to hit the notification bell because we try to get these up every Tuesday. Every Tuesday at about 6:15 a.m. Central Time is when the video goes live. That's very specific, isn't it? I don't know why.
That was well.
Thank you.
I
Folks,
know why, because you do it.
I do it. And I do it well. Folks, have a great week. It was fantastic talking to you again, John, as usual. I've missed you over the last 2 weeks, but hopefully it won't be 2 weeks more. You never know. Folks, have a great weekend. Happy Easter, and we'll talk to you. Well, hopefully you had a good Easter because this isn't coming out until Tuesday. So anyway, talk to you later. Bye. Easter. Nice.